Following Beyonce and Jay-Z's footsteps with a special concert in Philadelphia last night. Clinton touting her high-powered counterparts minutes before getting rained out in critical Florida 10 minutes into her speech.
Just in case you didn't notice last night, I gotta say, I was with Jay-Z and Beyonce. When a famous entertainer says, hey, I want to support you, help get out the vote, that is such a gift. But the thought that went into what they did last night, my personal favorite part was Beyonce had her backup singers and dancers in pantsuits. I mean...
All right, so if you thought that was fabulous, well, tonight, James Taylor giving a special performance in the Granite State right after LeBron James joins Clinton in Cleveland, and maybe they will both have pantsuits. Who knows?
Yeah, what? We will have to wait and see.
Exciting.
I'll be on edge every step of the way. Jackie, thank you. Well, Donald Trump showing strength in the key battleground states.
The polls are so good. We're winning all over the place. They're going crazy.
So what does he need to do in this final stretch? Here to weigh in, author of Crossing the Thinnest Line, Lauren Chevet, and editor of Red Alert Politics, Ron Meyer. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for waking up so early on a Sunday morning. Just 2 days to go. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right, Lauren, I'll start with you. So you look at where we are right now and the states that are in play. I mean, we can pull up the electoral map, but you compare it to 2 weeks ago, and now how you look at New Hampshire, Colorado, even Pennsylvania is up in the air right now.
You know, I think it's actually less up in the air than maybe we think it is. You know, I was in Pennsylvania yesterday, and the ground game that the Clintons have, and the DNC has set up all over the swing states, is unprecedented. They have 2 to 3 times as many field offices and huge numbers of volunteers spread out all across the swing states. And so I think what the polls don't really tell you is this big question about getting out the vote. And the Democrats have just an enormous advantage when it comes to mobilization. We've also seen massive turnout operations around the Latino vote. We have a huge energy from women voters who are volunteering in huge numbers across the swing states. And so while the polls are tightening, I'm not sure that it's going to translate on Election Day.
Ron, you can always tell, though, where the candidates feel most concerned based on where they are spending their resources, where they're spending their time, most importantly. And we're seeing Hillary Clinton, though, visiting some of the states which she hoped to have locked up by now.
That's right, yeah. You'll see that she's coming to Virginia, which she should have easily had locked up. She's traveling to states that really she should have locked up weeks ago, but because of what's happened with this FBI letter, things have totally changed. And that's why I think that there's a few steps that Donald Trump can take to actually tighten this thing up and close it. I think step 1 might be coming out against daylight savings, but we can talk about that one a different time. But step 2 needs to be, I think he has to go back to what worked during the convention. That's trot out surrogates who are really powerful on his behalf. Because right now, Hillary's attacking his character on air. And so he has to fight back by not just having himself out there, but having people who really believe in him out there. I think another step is making sure you don't make a mistake. I think whoever makes the last mistake is going to lose this race. Because what we've seen is that these news cycles do change the polls. That's what we've seen with the FBI letter, with the tape. And so whoever controls the media cycle in these last days is going to win this thing.
Well, and guess what? It all ends on Tuesday or so, people are saying. But what about this nightmare scenario, Lauren, where it could be a 269 tie?
You know, in every election, there's always that possibility that you would have that. It is just sort of the fundamentals of the Electoral College. I do not think this is going to be a close election or anywhere near the 269 to 269. The reality is that even any candidate already started with an electoral advantage in this race because of the way the map the way the map is. When you factor in the difference in terms of the female vote, the minority vote, this is not going to be a close election. So I know we can always sort of do the punditry on the eventualities. I do not think that is going to happen. It's such a long shot that we'd be anywhere near that.
What would happen though if that were the case, Ron? Ultimately, then who decides who's president?
Well, then it goes to the House of Representatives. So whoever wins electoral votes in a tie would be sent to the House, and they have to pick between one of the 2 candidates. So they can't just pick anyone. So they'd either have to pick Hillary or Trump. And as you know, the House is controlled by Republicans, and probably still will be. And so each state gets 1 vote. So the delegations get together and vote. And so Republicans hold the majority in 33 states. And so it should be an easy win for Trump. You wouldn't think that Republicans would abandon Trump for Hillary in a direct, I mean, it would probably be political suicide for them. And I actually do think it's somewhat of a possibility. Basically, if Trump wins New Hampshire and the states that are polling the way they are poll the way they are, this could be a real thing. And I wouldn't really put so much investment into saying that minorities and millennials and women are going to turn out for Democrats. We've seen in polling this entire year and these last few weeks that those turnouts have been depressed, especially compared to where they are for Obama, especially with millennials.
Yeah,
after this letter, her support has fallen off.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. She had Katy Perry during the primary. How did that work for her? Bernie blew her out of the water, even though she had all these same people out campaigning for her.
The mobilization on the Democratic side is so powerful.
Well, that's the question.
There's no way that that Trump can overcome it. He's had no support from his own party in the ground game. People can't even find their polling places.
If the Bernie Sanders people come out for her, that'll be the big question. Lauren and Ron Meyer, good to see you this morning. We will see how all of this plays out by Tuesday. All right, Clayton, over to you.
And I'm totally on Ron's side. Get rid of daylight saving time. Yeah. I think we can all agree on that.
Because we don't sleep well anyway.
No,
we're up every hour.
Come on, write to me. We're going to start this movement. The time is now 40 minutes past the hour. If you adjusted your clocks, it's 5:40 on the East Coast. It might be 6:40 on your clock. A Fox News alert now. The threat of a terror attack on Election Day voters. So who has the better plan to defeat terrorism?
We will suspend the Syrian refugee program.
I want to have an intelligence surge that protects us here at home.
A closer look in our series, The Issues That Matter, that's next. Plus, the state that could determine the fate of our country. We're live in Florida as tightening polls show the race closer than ever. Concerns for voters this election season.
Fox News chief intelligence correspondent Catherine Herridge breaks down where both candidates stand.
Melissa Long are juggling work and raising 2 young children. Like so many voters, terrorism is an issue that matters, but for them, it is deeply personal.
I am a native New Yorker who lost my fiance on 9/11.
I lost my parents on 9/11 at the Pentagon.
Living in suburban Virginia, not far from the site where Flight 77 crashed, the Longs fear their children will only see a world through the lens of terrorism.
We are going to stop radical Islamic terrorism in this country. She won't even mention the words, and neither will President Obama.
We need to keep our eye on ISIS. That's why I want to have an intelligence surge that protects us here at home.
A Clinton administration promises to take out ISIS in Iraq and Syria, harness a global coalition to defeat international terror networks, and further support first responders on the front lines here at home. Washington's interim police chief Peter Newsham says his officers are training for scenarios like this summer's terrorist attack.
I'm in Orlando, and I did the shooting.
At Orlando's Pulse nightclub, where 49 were killed, and last December's assault in San Bernardino, leaving 14 dead. The shooters were inspired by Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
We have a tactical village, so it's a big, almost it's a warehouse where we can actually set up a school, we can set up a nightclub, and we have an actor go in, and they essentially are acting as a lone wolf shooter.
A Trump administration promises to crush ISIS through aggressive coalition military operations, rebuild U.S. forces with improved intelligence and cyber capabilities. Trump, who wants a wall with Mexico, also draws a distinction with Clinton on refugees.
When I'm elected president, we will suspend the Syrian refugee program.
While both candidates pledged to disrupt online recruiting, neither offer specifics. Speaking with Fox News, Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson said the next administration will wrestle with a digital jihad.
When you look at their recruitment efforts on social media, on the internet, it is slick, it is impressive, it has a Western flavor to it.
Until it happens to you or someone close to you, I don't think people fully comprehend the threat that we're facing. I'd like to say to my kids that, that we're doing our best to really prevent another 9/11 from happening.
Whoever wins is going to have a lot on their plate.
Absolutely.
When it comes to terrorism. All right, we want to check in now with Steve Doocy to see what's coming up on Fox and Friends. And we've been talking all morning about these swing states and how close they are. And you did the maps with Rasmussen and how the undecideds are so important.
Yeah, so Steve, you got some new news this morning you guys are going to be diving into on these independents, right?
That's right, exactly. How, with 2 days to go, anybody is still undecided? Right. Extraordinarily, there still are some folks. When you look at who independents are breaking for right now, as you can see from this Fox News poll, Donald Trump has a 7-point advantage over Hillary Clinton. But it still could come down to the undecided voters. We are going to have a panel of 3 different undecided voters from all quadrants of the United States of America. They're going to be joining us live. We're going to find out what is on their minds 2 days out.
Yeah, do they understand
amazing.
how much pressure they have at this point? I mean, it may all come down to them.
Their phones are ringing off the hook right now.
I don't know how. They say that I will decide in some cases when I walk in the booth.
Really?
What's going to decide for them inside the booth?
Or, Steve, if they walk in the booth at all, or they stay home because they're so disgusted with everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
That'll be a great segment. We look forward to that, Steve. And you guys have a lot of other guests on. It's going to be a big show today.
Indeed. We got Kellyanne Conway. She's going to be with us. So we got Mike Huckabee and, of course, all of you watching out in TV land. We got a busy 4 hours. Kicks off 12 minutes from right now.
Steve will be on, even wearing a suit coat in just a few
You
minutes.
think?
I think so.
I think you might go get it now. Oh, there it is. All right, we'll see you soon, Steve. Can't wait.
All right, well, more Fox and Friends first in just a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Florida heating up this morning with polls tighter than ever.
Yeah, it all comes down to the Sunshine State. Donald Trump promising crowds that he's going to win the key battleground state as early voting wraps up.
Phil Keating live at a polling location in Miami with the latest there.
There he
Phil,
is.
good morning. Anyone there?
Good morning. Yeah, just the church staffers right now, but the congregation should be showing up for the 7 a.m. service. Record numbers of early voters in Florida, 5.8 million so far. That's about 45% of the total electorate have already cast their ballots, all leading us to today, Sunday, the very final day of early voting, and that is where big, predominantly black churches like the New Birth Baptist Church behind me and all over the state will be participating in the very powerful Turnout the Vote event known as Souls to the Polls. That's where you go to service, listen to the homily or the speeches, and then everyone caravans off to the nearest voting station to vote. Both candidates hitting Florida hard yesterday. Thousands of people turning out at the fairgrounds to see Trump in Tampa.
In 3 days, we are going to win the great state of Florida, and we are going to win back the White House. Real change begins.
And Clinton rallied in South Florida in Pembroke Pines, where the after